What's up, everyone? Welcome to the To Arete Podcast, episode number 3. Today, we're going to be talking about goal setting, which sounds pretty basic. I mean, why would we be talking about this? Doesn't everyone know how to set a goal?
Do they? People don't hit their goals. And I read this, I don't remember when, and apologies for not having the number right, but it was a huge amount of people, like 90%, that didn't hit their goals.
Okay.
So 90% of goals are never hit.
90% of goals are never realized.
Is insane if you think about it. Because everybody has a goal out. They want to do this, they want to get a better job, they want to get a house, they want to get family, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
We're setting goals every day, or at least we think we do. And that's why I believe it's very important that we talk about this and we help people redesign and refine what goal setting is, how you can actually do it in a way that you don't miss another goal.
Why do you think most people don't hit their goals?
I believe it's because people don't actually set goals. They think they do, but in reality, a goal without an actionable plan, like a daily plan, is a dream. So
talk to me about that.
I mean, it's very self-explanatory, right? If you set a goal and you say, "Oh, I want a big house," but it stays there. Even if you say in 5 years I want a big house. Okay, how are you gonna get there?
Yeah.
Like, what do you have to do today to get there? Because those 5 years are passing whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But if you don't know, and they're limited, they're defined, X amount of days. So if you don't know what you're doing every day, or at the very minimum every week to get to that goal, you're never gonna get there.
So essentially, most people are putting, let's say you have a map, most people are putting a mark of where they want to go, but they never really draw out the path there.
And there's no path.
Okay.
Because imagine like the busiest like intersection ever, or like all of them combined, and they somehow need to get there. They will take so many different routes because in the moment they think that's going to be the right one because they're thinking a big goal down the road. But if you don't reverse engineer that goal into what you need to do right now or today or tomorrow, you're never hitting that. And that's why 90% of those goals are never hit.
Okay. So how would one go about figuring out their path to their goal in a way that's going to be more effective for them?
There are a few things we can do to actually, essentially what you're asking is how to create a path, how to define the goal, and how to turn to, again, what I just said, the reverse engineering. So I want a big house in 5 years. Right? How much would that house cost? 500,000.
500,000,
whatever.
Cool.
So how much am I making right now? 50K. I don't know what it is. Now I need to understand how much can I save? How much will the down payment be? All these things. So if the down payment for that, let's say it's 10%, 50,000, or 20%, it's going to be more. So 100,000. If I can, from 50,000, I can save 10,000 a year with what I'm doing. That means for 100,000, I only need 10 years. So by default, as I am right now, I cannot hit this goal. Right. So I need to make up for another 10,000 every year. Yeah. But we need to go even further than that. 10,000 every year is, we have to split it into, what is it, like 800 a month?
About
800 a month roughly. So now I need to find an extra 800 a month.
Yeah.
But now it's come to a point where, okay, it's a lot more doable.
Tangible.
Because now you can feel...
You already have a time frame now.
Yeah. 800 a month. You're in the US, that can look like a few, part-time Uber, can look like part-time, delivery.
Yeah. Even here, even in Greece, everyone.
Yeah. Whatever it might be, 800 a month. Now you have a monthly goal instead of thinking, oh, I need 100,000. How crazy is that? If you say every month that goes by, oh, I need 100,000, you're never getting that. But if every month you say, oh, I need 800, and I'm doing 30 hours a week or 20 hours a week of part-time X job, that gives me 800 a month. Yeah. So at the end of the month, you did this job, you got 800. That's a win. You got closer to your goal. Yeah. You have to stop thinking about it. You have to set those long-term goals and reverse engineer them back to daily, weekly, monthly goals.
Exactly.
That's the only way you can actually hit them, because then it becomes just a process.
So you have the 500K or no, the down payment, 100K.
Down payment, yeah.
That will be maybe your 3-year goal, let's say. And then you can break that 3-year goal down into a 1-year goal. And then also the monthly goal, which would be the extra 800 a month, which you could go further to break that into a weekly goal of 200 a
Yeah,
week.
you could be working in sales and you can say, okay, I just need 2 more deals a week. That would give me, I don't know, 200 a week.
Exactly.
And then that would be 800 a month.
And then you go further. How many meetings do I need to book to get those deals?
Actually, that's
how many messages do I need to send to book those meetings?
Yeah, if you're in sales, that's even better, because you can define exactly. I mean, any job, right? If your goal is, if your vehicle is going to be part-time Uber, then you're like, how many hours do I need to work?
Yep.
For me to work this many hours, when are they going to be put in? And that's how you structure it. You put it down to an actionable step you can take right now, as you said perfectly. I need 2 more deals a week. All right. That means if I get a deal every 100 messages, that means I need to do 200 extra messages.
Yep.
Those numbers are off the top of my head. But
For example,
for example, that if you break it down to that, then you know exactly what you need to do. And 200 messages a week, that might be, you do 40 messages a day extra. Then you know exactly what you need to do today.
Yeah. And you have a tangible goal that where you get to the end of the day, if you hit that, you know you've done what you're supposed to do.
You get in that house.
Exactly.
You hit that, you get in the house. That's it. That's crazy, because nobody thinks about it like that. Or at least not enough people think about it like that, because if they did, all they had to do was just seize the day. Today, 40 messages, I'm getting this house.
Yeah.
It's numbers. You won't have to think about it. Even if you don't get those 2 deals in 1 week, maybe next week it will be 4 deals or whatever it might be. But by the law of averages, if you just do that, if you know your numbers, you will hit the goal.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you know, I'm getting this house. And it will just become a system. It will just become a routine. You won't even think about that. 5 years go by, you have 100K, you're buying a house.
I think that's a really effective way to not only reach your goal faster, but also to help you, to give you more confidence every day that you're going exactly where you need to be going.
Confidence, what does it come from? Confidence comes from
wins.
From wins, exactly. So
from giving yourself an undeniable stack of evidence that you are who you say you are, that you do what you say you do.
Exactly. So you're finishing the day, you won that day. You got the win because you got the extra messages, you got whatever it is. You crossed it off. Yeah, you crossed it off, and then next day, you feed off of that win.
Yeah.
I did it yesterday, huge win. Or if I didn't do it yesterday, that's gonna hurt your confidence. Then you need to,
that's gonna hurt you. Exactly. So exactly.
You're gonna compensate from that. So just break it down, as we said. That's gonna be the first main step you can do to actually set the right goals and set them in a way that you can actually hit them.
Yep. And that's what we're here to do, is to give people, through our discussion, extract actionable strategies for people that they can implement right now. If they're watching this or listening to this, you can do this right now. Take out a piece of paper and a pen, write out your goal, break it down as deep as you can up to a daily or even hourly goal task if you want to.
You want to get a car, used car, you're 19, 20 years old, you want to get your first used car.
Yeah.
Or in the States, even younger. But you want to get your first used car, 10K. How do you get that? You work part-time McDonald's. How much do you get? How much can you save? Like, break it down. You know exactly what you're working for every hour that you're working there.
Yeah.
Can you do anything else? Can you speed up the process? Yes, no, whatever it might be. You know every day you work those 5 hours because you save X amount of money on a daily basis. That gets you to your goal.
Yeah.
And you know that in a year and a half, you're getting that.
Yeah. Also, what you just did there, by reverse engineering your 3-year goal, essentially, you now have a daily task. And that's another great way for people to hit their goals more effectively, is to focus on that task instead of the actual big goal. Because sometimes, if you say like, oh, I want a big house, it's too vague and it's not a strong enough motivator for you to actually get you to put in the work. Or it's too scary, or it doesn't do anything with you, right? It holds you back either way. Either way, it holds you back. So now that you have that daily or even weekly habit, like you said, if you do that every day, you've checked the box. you feel good. It gives you, just by ticking off that box, it gives you dopamine.
Yeah.
And that helps you feel good, and it feeds the loop of you staying consistent. So focusing more on the process rather than the outcome is also a very powerful paradigm shift that people can use to stay more consistent and hit their goals.
Process-oriented goals versus outcome-oriented goals.
Exactly.
I believe that the outcome-oriented goals should be the big goals that you set in the beginning, the house, the car, the health, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Even health goals, because everybody's like, oh, I want to get healthier. That's not a goal. That's a dream.
It's so vague. What does
that mean for you? So define what it means for you.
Yeah.
It's still an outcome-oriented goal.
Yeah.
But when you break it down to what can you do today for that? What can you do today to get healthier?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the goals you want to have on a daily basis. You have daily process-oriented goals.
Yeah. And when it comes to health, you really also want to look at importance, the priorities. For example, if someone needs to lose 50 kilos and they start putting cayenne pepper in their yogurt or drinking lemon in the morning to detox their body and boost their metabolism, it's like, if you only ate one pizza a day and lost 50 kilos, that would likely yield more health benefit than actually those little things, right? So the priority for you would first be to lose the weight.
Yeah.
And sure, then you can look at optimizations you can make. But look at what's the highest priority that's going to give you the biggest return on your time, because ultimately that's what's going to work. That's going to be what's having you feeling better, and that's going to keep the loop going. Because if you think that putting some lemon in your water or cayenne pepper in your yogurt, that's not going to help you see any results.
It doesn't work?
You can try it.
I've been trying. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I can see it still.
Damn.
A bit fluffy.
Man, I'm trying to...
So if that's not working, then obviously your motivation is going to be cut short. You're not going to stay consistent.
Yeah. What you said was very important, and I forgot to say this part. Time. That's why the outcome-oriented goals don't work, because if they're a 5-year goal, 10-year goal, nobody's staying consistent for 10 years just by thinking of that.
Yeah.
Nobody. I would never be able to do that.
No.
If you can, kudos.
No.
I wouldn't be able to do it. I think most people wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
That's why the stats are what they are. So time. Shifting to daily goals and very specific ones that align with the main goal, and they are process-oriented, as we said, it will be much, much easier to eventually get to that, because you are hitting goals in a short amount of time. So the discipline, which we discussed in the previous episode, the discipline that's required to hit those goals is going to be, you're not going to give it enough time for it to fade. Because you hit the goal, you get the dopamine, you get the satisfaction.
Exactly.
It resets, you do it again.
Exactly.
So if you allow too much time between you and a win, if you allow too much time, your consistency is going to fall off.
Exactly.
That's why small wins, for me, even though I was in shape when I started doing that, just doing a morning walk every day with my dogs, just going out and doing like a 30-45 minute walk, and it's become a non-negotiable now. Mm-hmm. It gave me a lot of confidence because it was a win. Before that, I would wake up and just go do whatever it is directly. Now, I wake up, the dogs will not let me go until we go out. So I have to do it. They're pushing me. Accountability partners.
Great accountability partners.
Yeah, amazing. Because they won't let me go until we get out. So that's become a win. Not a health win, because I play basketball. I do a lot of things regardless. I get a few steps in, which helps for sure. But it's a win that helps me throughout the day. So it's 6 a.m. I got to get up. I got to go take the dogs out. A lot of times I don't feel like if I do that, then an email and 2 hours later at work won't faze me as much as whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So time is very important.
And what you also mentioned there was you made your walk in the morning a non-negotiable. And that brings me to another very, very, very important point, is to define your minimums, define your standards. As the saying goes, when the time comes, you're not going to rise to your potential or to the expectations. You're going to fall to the level of your systems or to the level of your standards. If you make it a non-negotiable, right? If you make it a non-negotiable that you do 3 workouts a week or 60 minutes of walking every day in the morning, and no matter what happens, maybe people are asking you to do other things that day. If that hasn't happened, a minimum means that takes priority, because every week, no matter what happens, you need to do those 3 workouts. You need to do those 60 minutes of walking per day.
Non-negotiables. You cannot live your life with non-negotiables, because
If
you don't have standards.
If it's a minimum, but if it's a minimum, you're always going to fall back to that. You're never actually going to be out of shape.
Yeah.
Because that's your standard.
That's
so
your
you
lifestyle,
need to set the standards somewhere. It doesn't need to be 5 times a week. You don't need to work out every day, but find the minimum for you right now. That
whatever
find
the,
the minimum that works.
Whatever the goal might be, because some people might have the goal to become, like, I don't know, professional bodybuilders. You might need to. You might need to go
then you
5
might
times
need
a
to.
week. I don't know what it is.
But for the people who are just struggling to get started with something, just start small. 1 time, 2 times, totally fine.
Yeah.
After a while, it's gonna feel easy to do 1 or 2 times. That's when you can look at, okay, what else can I change? What can I add to up my output or my input, I should say, because your output is gonna equal your input. If you work out once a week, you're not gonna see that much output.
Yeah. So, setting the right goals. Give me a little bit of, like, just give me your thoughts on how can somebody know that the goal they're setting is going to be the right goal.
There's a very good formula you can use for that. It's called the SMART formula. So SMART meaning specific, M measurable, A attainable, R relevant, time bound. That's the SMART formula. Right?
Time bound. Okay.
So, based off the example you said of buying a house, right?
Specific. What house?
Let's make it a bit more exactly.
What house? Where? How much does it cost?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
What house? Where? How much does it cost? Then, achievable. Like, do you want to buy a villa in Miami? Maybe you can do it.
Yeah, but if I'm making $30,000 a
If
year,
you're making $30K a year, that might be.
I need to change drastically, and it won't happen in 5 years.
Exactly.
Most likely, unless I win the lottery.
It could end up letting you down. You know.
Yeah.
So make sure it's attainable.
But I want to add something very quick and important here.
What's that?
I want to make sure people don't think that you should set goals based on what you can do now. I want to make sure people
Absolutely.
understand that I'm a very big advocate of setting goals that, as you are right now, you cannot achieve.
Ambitious goals. Setting ambitious goals. Yeah.
Because that will push you to improve. Even if it's 1% or a little bit, it will push you to improve. So if your income right now doesn't allow to buy a $500,000 house, but just getting an extra 10 hours a week of work will get you there, that means that it will grow you as a person, just getting that, or it will just get you to the point where you get your skill set to where you can get a better job. That covers the income to save up. So, or you start a business. Whatever it might be, you will improve to get to those goals.
Yeah.
Ambitious goals, so you can become a little bit better.
I think I think that's a very important addition, because it needs to be an ambitious goal. If it's not, like, if it's something you can do right now, or you can do,
because
what's the point?
Achievable can be, somebody can say, oh, what can I do now?
Attainable, okay, obviously, if I want to gain muscle and I say I want to gain 10 kilos a month, that's impossible.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just biologically not possible.
Yeah, or I want to buy
it needs to be within reason. I think people can make their own judgment whether that's
they will
actually
understand.
realistic.
Only smart people will watch this. But yeah, just make sure they will push you just a little bit more.
Yes, absolutely. So they should be ambitious. They should force you out of your comfort zone, but they should still be realistic. Like, you don't want to defy the laws of physics or anything like that. Then we have relevant. It needs to be relevant
to what you want to do.
To what you want to do, of course. And time bound. So
specific time frame. That's the most specific. That's the most important one, I believe. They need to be time bound. You set a goal. I want to buy a house. When? Because that's the only way you can actually reverse engineer it. Because I believe it's the basic foundation of to set a goal. Reverse engineer it to now. Because you need to know how much time you need, how much time you have.
Yeah.
So setting that up, and this will be a hard question to answer, but I want to understand. I want to see if you can help anybody who's watching this to how can they know? Can you think of a sign that they can think about, that they can identify when they're setting a goal, that they say, okay, this is a good goal for me? I know it gets very specific to each person, but is there something that you can think of? I know, I don't even have it in my mind yet, but is there something you can think of that they can see that will validate that this is a good goal for them?
Great question. I would say identify why you want to reach that goal and how will reaching that goal actually make your life better. And if you can't really think of a reason why you're even chasing that goal, that means it's not your goal in the first place.
Okay.
It's just something you've picked up on from people telling you, oh, you should have a business, you should have. Maybe you've kind of been conditioned.
Not everybody has a business.
Not everybody
should have a
wants
business.
Yeah, exactly. Not everybody should. There's a lot of people shitting on 9-to-5 jobs as well. I've had a 9-to-5. I've been and am an entrepreneur. Trust me, it's not always as glorified as they make it seem.
Definitely not. Man.
I think 9-to-5s get way too much of a bad rep lately.
Yeah.
But you need to know how that goal will make your life better. If you don't, then it's probably someone else's goal.
Yeah. Okay. So essentially, visualizing themselves having that.
Yeah.
Having that goal, how their life is going to be different,
Yeah.
and if that's a life that they genuinely want to live.
Exactly.
And by what you said very, very well, how it's going to change life. It's very important because somebody have a goal like, oh, I'm listening to Andrew Tate. I want to get a Bugatti. Like, honestly, take a second, take a step back and think about how will that change your life.
Having a Bugatti change your life?
Will it just be about, oh, I will just be able to flex? Okay, that's a good thing. Now, you flexing, genuinely, how many times will you do it, and how fulfilling would it be?
Do you really think that's gonna make you happy?
And also, working 5 years or 10 years to get to that, will it be worth you being able to flex it for once a week or twice a week or whatever you do it? And if all of those things you still say, yes, I really want it, then it's a good goal for you.
Yeah.
But if at some point you're like, well, I could just have a less expensive car, but really more important for me would be to have a great house because I want to do X, Y, Z. And how would that make your life better? Man, now I live in a very bad house. Like the neighborhood is crap. I don't like it. All these things, and you really genuinely need to get out of there. Yeah. Then that's a goal that you can actually work towards.
Yeah.
That now you're identifying those things. So very great addition. I was
finding the priorities.
Finding the priorities and visualizing yourself having that.
Yeah.
Visualizing yourself having that because that will show you if it's actually something you want or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in terms of actionable things, again, that people can do to set their goals and reach their goals more effectively, use the SMART formula. Focus on the process rather than the outcome.
So set process-oriented goals.
Yeah.
And not to support your outcome-oriented goals.
Exactly. Okay. Defining your minimums. Whether that's the 3 workouts a week. Maybe you want to find a job.
So your standards, yeah.
Your standards. Maybe you want to find a job. 30 applications per week, non-negotiable.
Okay.
Right? Defining your minimums. And one more I'd like to add, the accountability partner. Right?
Accountability.
For you, was your dogs?
I mean, yeah. Honestly, those little bastards are there. I'm not getting out of that.
If you're not there, they'll bite you. Yeah.
I don't know what.
That's what you need.
They're gonna ruin the rest of the day if I'm home because they're gonna be super energetic and everything. Obviously, I love them, right? I'm not saying that in a bad way, but they're there. They're gonna get me out of the couch, out of the chair. I need to get this walk, even when I don't feel like. Because if I was doing it just for myself, there would be a time where maybe today I can skip it.
Yeah.
But accountability partners, because as you said very well, I think it was the last episode. You go fast. You can go fast.
If you want to go fast,
go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. And you find that person, find that dog, find anybody.
A trainer, a coach, a family member, anything.
Whatever it is that will keep you accountable to reach your goals.
Yeah. Last point, write your goal down. There was this study that they did where they found that people who wrote down their goals were 40% more likely to actually hit their
40%,
goals. 40% more likely. And people who had were sending a weekly report or weekly update to their accountability partner were even more likely to do that.
40% is a big increase just by literally writing them down.
It's crazy.
Because if we think about it, realistically, you should be setting a few goals. If you all of a sudden have 20 different goals, you're never going to hit them.
No.
So if you set, 3, 4, 5 goals,
so 3, 4
maximum, I believe, as big goals, right?
Maybe 1 or 2 in like 1 or 2 health fitness goals.
Yeah.
1 or 2 career, wealth,
relationship.
Yeah.
And for you as a person, like
Your
how you
personal
want, like
development,
the personal development ethos and everything.
Yeah.
So a couple for each pillar,
Exactly.
and then
1 or 2 max, I would say.
1 or 2 max, and with if you do that and you write those down, you're gonna write what 6 or 8 down. That's it. All of a sudden you're 40% more likely to succeed.
Yeah.
And on top of that, have somebody where you report to, or you do it together, even better.
Yeah.
And that becomes even better.
Yeah.
And
And make sure you put those goals somewhere you can see them every day. I have a whiteboard right here, right across my bed. Every day I open my eyes, that's the first thing I see. Guess what's going to happen? I'm going to be thinking about that the whole time during my day.
Yeah.
And it's going to help me do the work I need to do.
You wake up with a purpose.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So in the next episode, we're going to talk more about time management.
Yeah,
we're going to link that in the description, or if you're watching on YouTube, it's going to be right here.
And why time management? Because for goal setting and actually getting to a daily tasks, now if you're going to add 8 goals, 8 daily tasks on top of what you're already doing, people are going to be like, oh, I can't do it every day.
Yeah.
Well, if you watch this video, you will be able to.
Exactly. Until next time.